Hi everyone, I'm back. This next video that I wanted to share with you are some thoughts that I've been thinking of for a really long time, but I wanted to make sure that I thoroughly thought through the process of what I wanted to talk to you about and really gave you some good insights that might be beneficial for you. And that is things I wish I knew before weight loss surgery. I mean, because the saying goes, you don't know what you don't know. So I wanted to do like a 10 things that I wish I knew before weight loss, but the more I got thinking about it, the more I started realizing there are a lot more than 10 things that I wanted to share with you. And I wanted to be able to give you anything that I maybe couldn't find on my own, or things that would help in just your process, or if you have questions now and you're gonna start, I wanted to be able to help as much as I can. And for those of you that are new, I got in November 20th of 2017, which was about 9 months ago. I was 347 pounds and I was going to get a surgery called the loop duodenal switch, which is also called the SODI, and there's other names for it as well. But that's the surgery that I took then, and currently today's date is August 18th, 2018. So I am about 9 months out and I'm constantly still learning things. I'm still trying to improvise. I'm still trying to figure things out. So I don't know, I'm not really an expert, and these are things that have just helped and worked for me and my body. And I just thought I'd share. So if maybe it'll happen for you or maybe it'll help, I don't know. So let's just jump right into it. The first thing that I wish I knew before weight loss, certain food goes right through me. And that slowed down a little bit, I'll be honest, but there's some things that I will eat and like within 10 minutes, I have to go run to the bathroom, and not to spit up necessarily, but to, do the dirty. But anyway, so that's one thing that I wish I knew before weight loss surgery. And honestly, I don't even know if they could really tell you that, because everybody's body's different. So that's been something that I have experienced, and it comes and goes. It's not always consistent, and it's not like I'm always eating and running to the bathroom either. Sometimes it's only in the mornings. Sometimes if I'm eating something that I'm not used to eating, it just depends. I'm not always spending my time in the bathroom, so I don't want to scare you there. I also recognized that certain food gives me really bad smelling gas. Yeah, let's talk about this. I thought frozen yogurt would be better for me to eat than ice cream. I know, there have been times that, heaven help me, I haven't been perfect and I have eaten things that aren't great for me even after the surgery, but we'll talk about that. And as I've eaten frozen yogurt, it literally has given me gas all day, has made me feel like my intestines are bloated, like has made me feel horrible. So unfortunately, one thing that I've recognized for me is frozen yogurt, and some types of pastas, my body does not agree with anymore, and it'll have long lasting effects, and it's really uncomfortable. And I mean, not only the smell, but it's uncomfortable for my body. It doesn't make me feel good. It, like I said, leaves me feeling bloated, and that was just not one thing I expected. And it's literally trial and error depending on what you eat. So that's been something I'm always learning, like, oh, okay. Or sometimes I forget. I'll eat something and I forget and it happens all over again. Or, there's just times that I'm just gonna let it happen because I want it that bad. Anyway, so that's one thing that I've realized I need to watch out for. Okay, now before surgery, I could out-eat most guys. And can I tell you, I was not the sharing food type of girl. Like when everyone would be like, oh, let's get sushi and let's all share. Or when they'd be like, oh, we're going to PF Chang's and we're all gonna share food. I was like, no, I'm eating, because I grew up in a big family and we all eat, and it was like, we get what's ours. And so it's honestly, I just did not like sharing food. However, after the surgery, I really appreciated sharing food, because I also, because of those mentalities that I had and those habits I had before surgery, I never wanted to leave my plate not empty. And so that mentality is still with me. And so I have a hard time leaving a plate of food if I know I haven't finished my plate. So it's been really helpful to be around people that be like, oh, you know, I'll eat the rest of that. Or, and granted, I can take it home with me and eat it the next day. But if that's not always the case, or if I don't want to do that, it's always really nice to have someone that's like, you know what, I got you. I'm gonna eat the rest of your food. And honestly, and it's been nice too when I've gone out and maybe knew I was gonna eat and there would be appetizers and all these other things that people wanted to eat. It's always nice to have that person too, either who's had a similar surgery or who is watching their weight and wants to share food with you, because you think in your mind that you can eat all that, but you really can't. And it's not good for you if you try. So share food. That's one thing that I'm embracing through all this, which was not something that I wanted to do before. And I'm constantly learning, because even still, sometimes my head is hungrier than my stomach and I think I can eat it all, but it's always nice to be able to share food. So that's important. I've experienced through this whole thing that certain food doesn't go down the same as it used to, obviously, but there's certain types of food that I've eaten that I realize might fill me faster. I mean, I loved bread, but I sort of stay away from breads and pastas now just because they fill me so fast. And when it comes, you know, you're supposed to get your protein in first is what they tell you. And I've sort of really adopted to that because I know I'm getting the nutrients I need for my body, but I don't want to be filled with things that really fill me faster than anything else. Or like grapes. I have the not hardest time eating grapes, but I can feel them in my pouch. Like I can eat them and I feel them and it fills me very quickly. You know, fries, corn. I love corn. I love corn. And now when I eat corn, sometimes it makes me a little nauseous. And so in eating corn, whether it's corn on the cob, not necessarily popcorn, but like corn on the cob or just like diced up corn or whatever, it's harder for me to eat. And that makes me sad because I love it. But yeah, corn. I've learned to really appreciate support groups, and they come in all forms, sizes, ways. You know, it doesn't have to be a formal support group, which those are great as well. I just was like embarrassed with a formal support group. I just didn't want, I don't know, I just was still not shamed that I had to go through this surgery, but I just still was really private about it all. And I just didn't want, me personally, and maybe my thoughts of this have changed now, but I just was really uncomfortable telling people like what I'm going through and not knowing, I don't know, the concept of the formal support groups were really not my cup of tea at first. Like now my thoughts have probably changed, but I've actually found people along this journey that have talked to me about their surgery, or I've learned that they're becoming more open and talking about the surgeries they've had, and it's been really nice to have them and to be able to bounce ideas off them, whether it's food or whether, you know, this happens to me, does this happen to you, you know, and even like a family can be support groups, friends can be support groups that haven't had the surgery, but just people that are supportive and like have your best interest at heart. Like that is something that I may have undermined before I went and had weight loss surgery, but it's really nice when you have these foreign things happen to you after your surgery that you have someone to just ask if this is normal, because there's a lot going on and there's a lot of adaptations and shocks to your body, and it is important that you have someone who has knowledge or who just will sit there and listen to you talk about what you're going through. It's important to talk things through so you not only gain the knowledge that you need, but you can adjust whatever that needs to be adjusted in your life to better balance this change that you've created that has happened. So I really underestimated the support groups, but they are really important. So if y'all aren't taking like weight loss pictures or measurements before your surgery, you need to get on that and you need to stay on it. I have not been as great about this. I mean, I did at the very beginning. I took like all these pictures of me like half naked and with clothes on and with certain bathing suits on and in all different situations. I really didn't do the measurements part, but honestly, through this process and through the mental games, which we will get into in just a second, but all of these things, I think it's so important to be able to see your progress, because your mind will play tricks on you and you need to be able to take out a picture and be like, wow, I don't look like that anymore. Even though in your head you still feel like you look like that, it's good to have those progress pictures. And I think that's just common knowledge. I mean, honestly, if you're not taking pictures to prepare yourself for what the change is gonna be like, or just to be able to just pat yourself on the back, I think everyone needs pictures. So that just goes without saying. I think the pictures and measurements, just do it. You will be so glad you did. So glad you did. Let's talk a bit about mentality, your mental state. Now, when I heard this before weight loss surgery, I was like, no, I have a really strong-willed mind. You know, my mind's pretty good. And no, you're gonna go into a whole different ball game. We're talking about, you know, you feel the shame of having this surgery. You feel the shame of talking about it with other people, and then you have the pride of having the surgery. And so you go through all these roller coasters of emotions like 24/7 all the time. Like, I mean, it's crazy. And the self-talk we do to ourselves can be really handicapping. Like, I mean, we are horrible to ourselves. You know, we put ourselves through guilt all the time. We put ourselves through so much. We need to learn to talk better to ourselves, or, you know, we might hit a stall and we think the world's over, which honestly is where I'm at right now. I've sort of stalled for a couple months, and I'm just like trying to pick up my game and trying to reevaluate things, you know, and the fear sets in, like, what if this is all I'm ever gonna lose? Or maybe it's time for me to start gaining weight, because that's what I've always done before. Like, I've always been in yo-yo diets. I've always lost a ton of weight and then I've gained it back. What if this just happens again? Because that's what I'm used to. I mean, your experiences and everything, I mean, there's a lot to be said when it comes to the mental games that you personally will play on yourself. And don't tell me that you won't, because you will. And you won't know what it's really like until after weight loss surgery, but beware. That's all I have to say. Beware, because it comes full throttle, and in ways that like is really weird. So like, it's important, because you also, as you start losing weight, you have this weird body dysmorphia thing where people will start telling you or treating you different, and you'll still think that you look fat. It's hard. Just take the compliment. Like, just take the compliment, say thank you, and then like go back and say everything that you want to say to yourself alone. But yeah, you are going to start looking better, and you're going to be a different person, and you won't feel that way. In your head, you're still going to be the same person. In your head, you still have all the same issues you had before weight loss surgery. Those don't go away. It's extremely important to find hobbies. I don't think I realized before weight loss surgery how much time I actually spent in eating or looking forward to eating. And some of that really hasn't changed when it comes to like looking forward to eating. But I think it's important to have hobbies, because now all of a sudden you eat a lot faster. Like, I was a fast eater before, but now you eat so much faster because you're not eating as much. And so it's like, okay, on to the next thing. You don't want to graze all day either. So find hobbies, find things that you can stick to, look forward to, whether it's working out even. I mean, try to find healthy, or hiking. I'm not a big hiker, but some people like it. Like I said before, painting, putting together puzzles, like doing these YouTube videos. You know, it's just important to find a shift of time. And that's another thing that I thought wouldn't happen to me, because I thought, oh, I use my time well, like, already. But then there's been times where I'm like, oh, I'm bored. I want a popsicle or something that's not really good for me, or something. So it's important to have hobbies to fill up that time. One thing I've recognized as well is people start looking at you differently. And it's sad. I hate to say it, but it's so sad. People start looking at you differently. They start treating you differently. They're more apt to help you, whether it's put things in your car with groceries, or whether it's, you know, help if you look confused, help you in your directions. I mean, you all of a sudden become this extremely approachable person. And it's sad, because I'm the same person when I was overweight, but it's like, I don't know if people were ashamed of me or just were embarrassed or didn't want to come up and talk to me, but people treat you differently. They look at you differently. It's just, And what comes along with that, I'll be honest, what comes along with that, this was another thing I was going to talk about, is I realized how comfortable I felt being invisible. I know that sounds really weird, and that's not what I really wanted in my life, to be invisible, but there is a comfort that comes with being invisible, because I felt like I used my personality a lot more. I just, I knew people were gonna overlook me, and it was just like, I got used to that. And so there is a comfort in not standing out, because I don't like to be the center of attention. I don't want to walk into a room and have people look at me. So there was that comfort that I'm missing now of being invisible. And once you start getting that attention, hopefully you're healthy with it. Hopefully you do good with that. But it's something that definitely comes around, and it's just not something I'm really used to. And I'm still trying to figure out how to really handle that. But, and it's nice, but I feel bad because everyone should be equal. But anyway, people look at you differently. That's one thing that's different. Okay. Hey, okay, let's talk about this. I'm excited to talk about this. It's not a fix-all. I know I've heard this before, and people are like, oh, it's not a fix-all. But let me tell you, before weight loss surgery, I thought it was a fix-all. I thought, okay, this will do what I need done. Like, this is what, I just need to eat less food. I pretty much, I'm equal opportunity when it comes to every food. But I literally thought this was a fix-all. And let me explain to you how it's not. Yeah, originally, you've got a lot of weight to lose a lot of times. And so, like, I don't know, the first 50 or 60 or 70, and who knows, 100 pounds could come off really fast with you doing very little. That is very true. This is what can happen. But there will come a time, and I think I'm in that time right now, where you hit this wall. And all of a sudden and I've implemented healthy things along the way. I have tried to change a lot of my my bad habits that have continued to stay with me, even though I got the surgery. But I am now at this wall. I'm at 238 pounds, 237 pounds right now. And I want to get to what they call Wonderland. I want to get 199, I want to get there, but I'm really struggling, I am having a harder time counting my macros, or like putting in my fitness pal what I'm eating, or I still food prep, but I give myself allowances, I feel, because I've implemented a little bit of exercises. I've been exercising for 5 days a week these last 2 weeks, which has just been like walking, but it's been something I haven't done recently, which has helped, but I'm not fixing to see the scale go up. Like, I am having situations to where I want to make sure that I am doing everything I can, and it's harder. Like, you have to put in work. It gets to a point where they can only take you so far, but in order to go the distance, you have to take yourself there yourself. You have to implement change. You have to be the person who gets your butt up and exercises, like, to get to your goals. I know it sounds cliche, but this is just like a tool. I hate saying that because everyone said that, and I was one of the people that are like, well, it's gonna fix things for me, and it has, for the most part, helped me jumpstart me, but it's not gonna fix it all. And honestly, if I continue in my bad habits, I could easily see myself climb back up the scale, and that's not something that I want to do. That would be devastating for me, and it's sort of devastating to see that I'm not seeing the big losses like I have before, and it could be obviously because of myself, because I'm not the cleanest eater, but at the same time, like, yeah, I'm just telling you, it's not a fix-all, and you will hit a time where you have to make that decision on if you were going to try harder and get down further, or if you're going to stay comfortable and maybe let the scale slide up a little bit. Like, you'll get there, and it's not a fix-all, which sucks, but it's not. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is one thing I didn't realize that would happen after weight loss surgery is your body will give you hints. It will give you hints when it's full, when you've eaten enough. Like, I get a runny nose sometimes. I'll get those chest hiccups you hear about. it gives you hints that like stop. And when you get those hints, you need to stop. And it's weird, when it first came on, I was like, what is this? But then I thought, well, you know, I'm dealing with new things down there, so maybe it's just, no, it's actually like a trigger to tell you that you're full. And so that's one thing I didn't expect, you know. And for the longest time, I was looking at ways and trying to figure out how I was full, because the full feeling was sort of different for me. When before I was like, oh, I could sit back and be like, oh, I'm full. Well, it's just different this time. And maybe it's slightly you feel that way, but it's just really hard to commute what you've put in your body, what you see still left, what you've been able to eat before. It's a whole new ball game. And so that's one thing that you really pay attention to your body, because that's one thing that I didn't realize there would be ways your body goes into survival that have actually helped when it comes to, you know, your body will tell you what it needs, and it'll give you little hints. And for me, it's been the whole runny nose, or like sniffling of nose, or like the chest hiccups. I'm like, I'm done, I'm out, that's it, I can't. So anyway, your body gives you hints. Didn't expect that one. Guys, sort of along the lines of how this is not a fix-all, your bad habits come with you. I know. Your cravings are still there. Your bad habits are still with you. You still get the boring eating. I am an emotional eater, and that still happens. And so it sort of falls in line with the mentality of this whole thing, but your bad habits come with you. You're given an opportunity to try to fix your way of eating, but you're not going to be perfect. No one is. And so those bad habits will still carry you on. And honestly, I had heard all different things when it came to weight loss surgery. You know, I had heard, oh, you know, they cut out the part of your stomach so where you don't feel full. That might be for some, or you don't feel hungry or whatever, which is weird, because I don't know if this is just me, but there are still times like I feel hungry. I will be like, I'm going to eat everything. And then I eat like 4 or 5 bites, to be honest, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. But like, I still get that hungry sensation, and there were people that were telling me that I wouldn't have that, so I still have that. There were people who told me also that, you know, oh, this just miraculously changed the way they eat, and now they're all keto, because keto is a very popular way to go when it comes to needing your protein and the things your body needs after surgery. I don't necessarily eat keto for my own personal reasons, but like, I still try to maintain the high protein value of that all. But yeah, there was so many rumors I heard before weight loss surgery of, you know, this is how it's going to make you feel, this is how you'll be, and you'll be able to change these immediately, and you'll be craving different things, which is true. I have learned to crave different things depending on what my body needs, so that is true. But honestly, like, it's not, I still have my old habits and my cravings, and there's still things that I'm like, I want a Debbie Lee cake, or I want a Hostess cake, or I want a Haagen-Dazs bar. I mean, there's still, like, I got myself in that pickle for a reason. I just have to learn to put those things in check, you know? And so your cravings, all those things are still with you. You're still the same person. So when I heard all these things and people talk about this stuff, I was like, wow, it was sort of added to this is a fix-all, but it's not. And you are still the same person, and don't be hard on yourself. Just moderate things a little bit more and learn to get healthy food in before you go for all the rest of the stuff. That's what I've tried to implement in my whole situation. I left this for last because this is something very serious, something no one talked to me about, something that I didn't know about myself, and it's about transfer addiction. This is very, very important to talk about. Before the weight loss surgery, I didn't see myself as being addicted to food. I, obviously thought way better of myself and put myself at a higher standard, but that's not necessarily the case. So a lot of people who are overweight really are addicted to food. And so that was something that I wasn't prepared for, because as you realize your go-to addiction is no longer there, subliminally, you start finding other things to be addicted to. This has happened to a lot of people that I've talked to when it comes to their weight loss journey, them going through this. This was not something anyone talked to me about. This was not something I expected. And you can't pick your addiction on what your new addiction is gonna be. And so I am pretty good at my finances. I've transferred my addiction into shopping, and that I need to nip that in the bud, because let me tell you, like, that is not okay. I'm not okay with it, and yet it has literally been a transfer addiction. A friend of mine, her transfer addiction is alcohol, and she had to come out as an alcoholic, which she's never been. She's always like a social drinker, but she never had a problem with it. And there are other people that have transferred their addiction to sex. They've transferred their addiction to all different types of things, and you really can't pick what your next addiction is. And I'm not saying this happens to everyone. This may not happen to you. You might be free from this. This was not something I expected, and this is not anything anyone ever talked to me about. And so I didn't realize how addicted I was to emotional eating or food. And without that there, I literally have transferred to shopping, and I hate that. And it's made me realize maybe I did have a problem before, and maybe and I'll probably always have a problem with food, but honestly, it's really opened my eyes and, taught me a lot about myself, which this process will teach you a lot about yourself, but it's very serious. And so it's something that maybe you should go in with your eyes wide open to. And like I said, yeah, I wish I could transfer my addiction to working out. I wish I could transfer my addiction to saving money. It just doesn't work that way. And so it's one thing that people don't often talk about, and I think it's important for you to recognize, do research on, figure out, ask people about. I didn't know even those questions to ask people who have had weight loss surgery. I just wanted to know their experience in general, but no one ever told me about that. And so that is something that's very, very real, and something that has happened to me. And so I wish you the best in going through weight loss surgery. I literally don't regret it. I literally would do it all over again. But hopefully this helps when it comes to the things I wish I would have known before weight loss surgery. And everyone's steps may be different. So you might have something completely different going on, and you might want to share later. But for me, these are things that on a daily, I will find out different things about my body or about me or my mental state. And I think it's just important overall to be aware and recognize it for what it's worth and where it came from. So anyway, that is what I have to talk to you about, the things I wish I would have known before weight loss surgery. If you like these videos, give me a thumbs up. If you would like to hear more, subscribe. I'd love to hear with you. If you have any comments of what you want to hear me talk about, or you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear those too. So I hope you guys have a great day.